Hi everyone. Um, this module is to give you a coding a client server on the Windows platforms. Client server can be built on Windows for two protocols. So we are going to see the implementation issues for UDP protocols and TCP protocols. Okay, this is the codings for UDP server. I'm using a function definition. So we define a function, and then here's a function call. This function UDP server receives a port number, and um, the first thing that we need to do is to define a socket, and we call that S. The families of sockets for UDP, there's a sock, DRAM, and then that socket needs to bind um, uh, from the IP, client IP, uh, to the server port. Okay, client IP is now blank, which means any client can connect to this server port. And when any port with a specific port with specific port for any client IP is uh, ready, bind, then there's a message. UDP server is ready to serve. And then we have while loop. This while loop goes forever. While one means true, so it always true. So inside of this while loop runs always. First, this UDP server socket receives the data from the client, and this received from function returns two data. The first element is the message, and the second one is address. This address also has two data components. First one is the IP, the client IP, and the second element in this, the second address, second element in this address, that is a port number. So we can say server received some data from this is IP address, colon, and port number. Then you can see it when this program runs. And the message, the first element, first return data from the received from function. That is that should be decoded in order to uh, display. Nice. And then this uh, the server uh, bounce back to the client uh, with the message a little bit uh, of the modifications. So we put some of the message from the server. This is message followed by the client message that we received. That is turned to the uppercase, all uppercase, and send it back to the address. This is the address of the client address, right? So we send it back to the client. That's what this server can do. On the other hand, this client, UDP client, again, this is a function. This is a function call. This function receives port number. So with that port, first socket is created. So we have a socket, client socket variable. And then we define another variable, stop, initially false, and then while loop. In order to run this while loop, this should be true, right? For stop itself false. If we negate it, then not stop means true. So this while loop true continue to work unless this stop variable changes. So initially, this client get the message from the user or stop if client wants to stop it. So stop, if the user input is a stop, then we change it to true. If stop becomes true, on this while loop condition, it negated, therefore it will be false. That is point this while loop stops. Otherwise, client send user input data to send out by encoding it. In order to send out through the internet, from your Python code, then you need to encode the message. When the Python code receives data from the internet and to display, then decode it. And this send to function needs two variables, message and the address to the server. Server IP still localhost, and then the port number is the server port. And then this client, as this client send out the message, this client waits if there is any message from the client. Okay, this server from that's the same function that we received from at the server side. This is receive from function returns the message and address. Same thing at the client. This returns a message and address. The server means this is server address, server IP, and server port number. And the data, so whatever the message from the server, that is written, display after decoded, followed by server IP and server port number. All right. So we need to run this. This is the same code that you can find the Mac demonstrations. So we need to bring up two terminals. So the way that you can bring up on Windows, holding down Windows button and press Alt. There you type CMD for command, and hit OK button. Then I have this. I want to get it a little smaller. Okay, I can make it one more terminal. So this terminal will be, yeah, this is client. All right. This guy is here. This is the program that we looked at, right? UDP server and UDP client. So click this, and then Control C to copy. And back here, we need to change directory, CD, and paste to that directory. Same thing here, CD, and change directory. So we both client server at the same directory where there are client program and server program. So we run the first, the server. So Python and then UDP server func. This server program written using function definition and function calls and py. And then UDP server is ready to serve. And now at the client side, you can do Python UDP client func.py. Then this guy says write a message So we can say hello UDP server, and UDP server receives, right? Receives, this is client messaging from the client. Client port number is 61520. Immediately this guy changed this to uppercase, all uppercase, bounce to the client. So at the client side, hello UDP, all uppercase, and this is a server information. 53535. Okay, this is a server port number. This is a client port number. At this client, we can say hello UDP server, and good to meet you. What happened? Unable to complete back. This guy is doing something. Wait for. I do not want. This guy is so busy. The window. Window is always the issue. So wait. I want to close this and redo. Still, let me check. Task manager. CPU runs, so desktop Windows manager. Windows so ridiculous management. But anyway, let's redo. Hopefully it runs well now. Um, really bad. Okay, let's see. I want to run this real quick to avoid any system issues. I want to type that and wait. And then here, Python UDP client func.py. And I want to hit enter. Hit enter. This is a client and all cap. And here, good to meet you, and come back. Good to meet you. And I want to stop it to avoid. And this, unlike the Mac version, this guy server on this local machine is still down. If we interrupt it, interrupt is not really taken. This Windows systems, so you can simply close the terminal itself. And I want to leave this client version. So point here is that you need to take care of here the client side, like here TCP. Okay. What happens here on TCP? Same thing. This is a function definition and function calls, and for the port number and function. TCP needs a different the socket type, so sock stream. So socket is created for the server, and server binds the port, same as explained for UDP side. But difference here at the TCP, the socket will listen, and as it listens, if there is a the client messages, then this socket accepts the client messages and returns. This accept returns two things: connection objects and then client address. Address is IP address. Client address is nothing but client IP address and port number. Client port number. We simply write it here. Display connected by client host and client port. And here again, the while loop, number one means this runs forever, continues, like our UDP while once, right? And this guy now get the data from the client. And if there is no data, then we can say, hey, bye, and then we break this connection. And therefore, this TCP server can be safely discontinued so that your terminal will be okay. It's not stopped at all. Otherwise, we can print the message from the client. Okay, this message from client already decoded, so we display it, and then we can re-ask to the server if there is any message to client, and then reply that once, encode to send the back to the client. So server reply to this data. Data means client data. So server replies to the client data, colon, followed by server message. So kind of a server answer, right? So This while loop at server side a little bit controlled, unlike that we had here on UDP side. It's a little bit of improvement. This is the way that you can learn. And then client side, um, same thing. Function defined and function can be invoked. With the port number, same socket family, socket type to create a socket for the client. And this client socket needs to connect to the server IP and server port. So this server port 20560 should be the server port that server designates. Otherwise, it goes to different ports. Okay. Stay alive, like a stop in the UDP side. And initially equals 1 means stay alive true. UDP client, the variable stop initially set to false. And in this while loop, the while loop condition should negate it, and therefore it goes uh, in action. Here, because this is true, we don't need to negate it, simply while. This is nothing but while number 1. So while continues. This client, TCP client, we can ask the message, and if there is a message stop, then we turn to this false. So 1 means true and 0 means false. So it'll be false, the while loop stops. Otherwise, we decode the server data. Wait a minute, this is a client message to server. So in order to send it, we need to encode it and send. After the client send message to server, client waits to receive data from server. This receives and returns data, and that's displays. Okay. So we want to demonstrate this TCP. Right now we have only one terminal here. So I want to clear this and open up another terminal. And then CD, let me see if we have still this, the path data buffer. No, it's not there. So we will, or we can get this data if we want. Copy path. And yeah, Python. Okay. So we have the same template. Okay, Python TCP server func.py. And here Python TCP client func.py. So I'm going to run the server first. Server needs to wait. Server doesn't have any message as we say here. Server doesn't do any message. Server first, the message that we can see here when server client wants to connect. And after it connects, there's a message. Right now, there's no clients. So if this clients activates, then we will see the message here. So enter, and then it's just connected by. This is the same local host and this is the port number from the client. So this client port number is 53067. Okay, and then we can say here, hello TCP server. Then it says, here's a message from the client, hello TCP server, right? And then the server also wants to talk to the client. Then we can say, how are you, client? Then return from the server is a hello TCP server. Oh, this is my message, right? To my message, the reply from the server is good. How are you, client? So that we can say back to the client, I have a question. And then here's the message from the client. And then we can say, tell me. Then we can say here, what is it, TCP? And you can say, oh, it is a network protocol based on connection. And if we say, then we can say stop if you want to stop it. As we stop, watch this server also will stop because there is no data comes in. Then this server is not hung like UDP code, the case that we gave them a minute ago. This will stop immediately. So both terminal will be okay. Watch this, right? So this terminal okay, and this terminal okay. So I want you to see the code, a little bit of the improvement, the code from UDP to TCP. This is a code issue, not the protocol issue. All right. Okay. Thank you.